In this lesson, we will look at family and some terms that we use to talk about family. So first of all, we're going to start with the vocabulary to talk about family. So up here, Robert, I have the word 가족,
가족,
and that means?
family.
Family, okay.
네.
So as a whole,
네.
I can talk about family
네.
just as 가족.
네.
Okay. Now below that, we've got a bunch of new terms to look at.
네.
So why don't we start up here?
아버지.
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 Okay.
Father.
Father.
네.
Okay. So I've got a picture down here. It says 아버지, and I've got a picture of
아버지.
아버지.
네.
Okay.
어머니.
어머니.
네.
Okay.
어머니.
So if I have 아버지, next to 아버지 I have 어머니.
네.
I have mother and father. So here's 어머니.
네. 어머니.
Okay. 어머니 looks like she's sleeping. Okay. Below
네.
mother and father.
네. 할아버지. 할아버지.
Right. Okay, yeah, so to look at it kind of phonetically,
네.
or syllable by syllable, it looks like 할,
네.
아버지,
네.
but when we say it, it sounds more like an R sound,
네.
할아버지.
할아버지.
Okay. And I've got my picture of 할아버지 down here. So grandfather,
네.
okay? I've got kind of a definition of 할아버지.
네.
So what does this say?
아버지의 아버지.
Okay. So here's my 아버지.
네.
So my possessive
네.
here. So my father's father
네.
is my grandfather.
네, 맞아요.
Okay, so 할아버지 is 아버지의 아버지.
네.
Okay.
그래서 if you want to try it in the first Korean sentence,
Mm-hmm.
할아버지는 아버지의 아버지예요.
Okay.
네.
All right. So kind of to say here, my grandfather is my father's father.
네,
Right?
네,
So we just tag on the ida verb,
네, 네.
which in this case would be
예요.
okay. 예요. So that makes a complete sentence if I
네.
say 할아버지는 아버지의 아버지예요.
네.
Okay.
And father is father's father.
Okay. Grandfather is my father's father. Or,
네, 그냥 just father's
or his
father.
father's
네.
father. Okay. Below
네.
grandfather we have
할머니.
okay, and I've got my picture of 할머니 here,
네.
so this would mean grandmother.
네, 네.
Okay. Just like I made a sentence with
네.
할아버지, I can say the same thing about 할머니.
네, 할머니.
So
할머니는 아버지의 어머니예요.
okay. So I notice here
네.
it's my father's father is my grandfather. My father's mother
네.
is my grandmother.
네, 맞아요.
So it's a little different if I'm talking about my mother's
네.
father and my mother's mother,
네.
right? Okay, so just 할아버지 is always talking about my father's side of the family.
네.
Okay, down here we've got two different versions.
네. 외할아버지. 외할아버지. 또 외할아버지는 어머니의 아버지예요.
Okay.
네.
All right, so in this case, I say 외할아버지
네.
to talk about my mother's father.
네, 맞아요.
Okay, so if I'm only saying 할아버지, it's talking about
그러면
my father's
father
side.
side. 네.
Okay, so 외할아버지, my mother's father,
네.
or yeah, my mother's father gets here, okay? And 외할머니?
네. 외할머니는 어머니의 어머니예요.
Okay. So again, just to talk about my father's side, I just use 할아버지 and 할머니.
네.
My mother's side, I add 외.
왜?
Okay. All right. Now, Robert, I wanted to ask you,
네.
this seems like kind of a formal way to talk about my parents and my grandparents,
네.
but we don't always say 아버지. Maybe if I'm talking to my father,
네.
I wouldn't, just like I wouldn't say father, I might say dad in English.
네. 아빠.
아빠.
네.
Okay.
여기는 이제 아빠, dad.
Okay. So if I'm talking about my father
네.
to someone else, I wouldn't say 아빠.
아니요.
Okay.
아버지.
아버지 or
Yeah.
아버지님 or something.
네. 아버지 좋아요. 근데 you can say 아빠, 우리 아빠 if you are young.
Okay.
Yeah, like children or until teenagers.
Okay. But 아빠 is kind of like a shortened version of
네.
아버지.
네. It's like
So-
dad, I think.
So like father to dad.
Right.
Okay. And how about 어머니?
엄마.
엄마.
네.
Okay.
엄마.
엄마. Okay.
네.
Now I've heard some different terms for 할머니 and 할아버지 too. Maybe a shortened version of 할머니.
아니요. 없어요.
없어요. Really, there are
한국에는
no?
없어요.
How about 할매?
아, 그거는 그러니까 dialect.
That's dialect? Okay.
네네네.
So actually, when I first came to Korea, I lived in a small town.
아, 맞아요.
So I think I learned 할매 as kind of slang to talk about
네, 맞아요.
할머니. So
네.
actually,
할매, 할배.
Okay, yeah, 할배 and 할매, exactly.
네.
So 할배 would be 할아버지,
네.
할매 would be 할머니.
그렇죠. 그런데 you don't say that in Seoul or
Okay.
Gyeonggi province. Or
So only if you take a vacation.
laughing or smiling.
Okay. Now I do hear though to refer to older people.
네.
Do hear the term 할아버지
Oh yeah.
to
sure.
talk about. So someone who's not my grandfather, but just an older man, like a title to refer to him could be 할아버지.
네, 할아버지 도와드릴까요?
Yeah. Can I help you? So I can use the term 할아버지 for
네.
someone who's not my grandfather,
Right.
but just an older man,
Right.
and 할머니 to talk about an older woman.
Right.
And these are polite terms?
Yeah, that's polite.
Okay.
근데 maybe you think they are old enough to be called 할아버지 or
Right.
할머니.
So you have to be careful. There's a fine line. I don't know.
네네.
You know, I'm sure
네.
men at a certain age,
네.
they don't appreciate being called 할아버지.
Right.
It's the same thing for women, right?
네.
So when you're considered a grandmother, if you don't feel like a grandmother,
네.
might not be a nice compliment to receive. Okay, so we've got father, mother, grandfather, grandmother on my father's side, and then same thing on my mother's side.
네.
Okay, below that, maybe we have talking about siblings,
Yes.
right? So in Korean, it's different depending on whether I'm a man or a woman
네.
to talk about my siblings, right?
네. 네.
So on this side, what do we have?
You're a man now there.
Okay, all right.
You're a boy.
Okay, so for a boy or for a man to talk about their siblings.
Right. 여기 이제 I, 나가 여기 남자예요.
Okay,
남자. 여기 이제 여자.
okay. So again, if I am a man, these are the terms I use to refer to my siblings.
Right.
If I'm a woman, I use these terms.
네.
Okay. So first of all, what do we have at the top?
형.
Okay.
Older brother.
Older brother.
네.
Okay.
그다음에 누나. 이거는 이제 older sister.
Okay.
네.
All right. So again, only for men.
Only for men.
So women do not use these terms.
no.
Okay. So 형 and 누나. I've also heard 형님.
네, that more polite.
More polite.
님, 선생님.
Okay. All right.
그래서
So
형. 근데 이제 you can call someone who is quite older than you. Doesn't have to be quite older than you. At your work,
yeah.
You're close enough to call him to be 형, close enough to call him 형님.
Okay.
그러면은 이제 그 after work you go out and drink beer together. 그럴 때 you can call him 형님.
Okay.
네.
So if your relationship is close enough.
Right.
Right, so-
my English.
So if I'm talking about my siblings,
네, 네.
my blood relatives, I can talk about 형님 or 형 and 누나.
그렇죠.
But also in Korean, which can be confusing, also just to talk about an older friend
Right.
who is close with me
Yes, right.
can be my 형 or my
그렇죠.
누나, right?
그래서 그러니까 회사에서
Yeah.
그러니까 오피스 사무실에서는 형님 이렇게 안 해요. 형.
Okay.
그렇지만 일 끝나고 after work.
Yeah.
그럼 after having some drink,
Yeah.
형님 이렇게
Okay.
그럼 아주 좋아져요.
Yeah, so
관계가.
it's a very respectful
네. 네.
term,
네.
but I wouldn't use this in the office or in the workplace.
그러면 다른 사람 있어요.
Right.
그러니까.
So I would use, even if my 형님 or my 형.
형님도 그 age gap is quite big.
Okay.
Like your 형 is maybe 20 years older than you. 그러면 you can call him 형님.
형님.
네.
Okay. But so in the workplace, I
When
would
you're
use their
quite
title.
old, right? Like
When-
over 20 or over 30, then you can call 형님.
Okay.
Young children, they don't say 형님.
Okay. All right, so same idea with 누나
네.
for an older female friend.
누님.
누님. Okay. So that's kind of
누나도 possible. 누나도 괜찮아요.
okay. All right. So again, that's for men.
네.
So on the other side, for women, we have
오빠.
오빠. Okay.
Older brother.
Older brother.
네.
And
그다음에 언니. 언니. Older
Okay.
sister.
find 오빠 and 언니, they're closer to 아빠 and 엄마, kind of. Right?
그래요.
So to me, hyung is a brand new word, and 누나, they're both brand new words. These ones, I don't know, they remind me of, like, the first time I saw 오빠 and
네.
아빠, it was confusing. But as a man, I don't actually have to use 오빠 or 언니, really. Okay, so again, if you're a woman, you would
네.
use 오빠 to talk
오빠.
about
Older brother.
older brother, 언니.
Older sister.
Okay.
언니.
And for a man, hyung,
네.
older
Older
brother.
brother. 누나. Older sister.
Okay.
근데 you might hear 언니 at a restaurant. 언니 there means the waitress.
The waitress.
네.
So-
근데,
Okay, so if I want to get the waitress's attention, I
네.
can say 언니.
yeah.
Okay.
근데 이제 that's what Korean people do. 근데 it's from a soap opera.
Okay.
Yeah.
From a
It's-
TV show?
Yeah, kind of slang.
Okay.
그래서 it's not that old. Maybe a couple of years old.
Okay.
So one person in the drama called the waitress 언니, and then people started to copy.
Oh, really?
네.
Okay. So all because of a TV show.
네, 네.
All right. So these are quite different for
네.
men and for women, but for talking about someone, a
Younger-
sibling that's younger, it's basically the same.
네, 네.
So what would I say for someone who's younger?
동생,
동생.
동생.
So if I'm a man, I say 동생. If I'm a woman, I say 동생.
Right.
Now how about, Robert, if I want to specify that it's my younger sister or younger brother?
아, 그러면 여기 남동생,
Okay.
뭐 여동생.
Okay.
네.
So my younger brother would be 남, as in 남자.
Right.
남동생. My younger sister, 여동생.
Right.
Okay.
그게 이제 do you have younger siblings? 네, 동생이 있어요. As it she or he. 그러면 남동생이에요, 여동생이에요.
Okay.
이렇게.
So just
You don't have them near you.
okay.
그러면
All right. So not to specify, just to say that you have younger siblings.
right.
Then you can just say 동생.
그렇죠.
Okay.
If you have younger brother right next to you, 그럼 여기 제 동생이에요.
Okay.
To someone else in front.
All right. And again, which is it can be a little confusing in Korean. I can say 동생 to refer to my younger friend as well. Right?
네, 맞아요.
So
네, 그러면 it means the friendship, relationship is close
it's close.
enough to be called 동생.
Okay.
Yeah, it's same thing here.
Right.
So we are very close.
Yeah.
Close enough to call him 형 or 동생.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So just if you hear people using these terms, it doesn't automatically mean that they're family.
No.
Okay.
네.
There is a specific word that we can use to stress that it is family, or that's your real brother,
네,
right?
네,
Or your
네.
real sister.
이렇게 뭐 친동생이에요.
Okay.
친오빠예요.
Okay.
그럼
So
blood.
a blood brother or
네,
a
네,
blood
네.
relative. Okay.
네.
All right. So just this word chin in front of any of these words
네, 네.
would stress that it's actually your family,
Right.
not just a friend.
Right.
Okay.
Is that your real brother? 그럼 내 친형이에요.
Okay.
or 친오빠예요.
Okay.
네.
All right. All right. So we've looked at maybe immediate family.
네.
We have a couple more terms that we
네.
can introduce in this lesson.
음흠.
So let me switch slides here. All right. Again, I
네.
found this very confusing
네.
to start with. In English, of course, we just say uncle or aunt,
네.
depending on, it doesn't matter if it's my father's side or
Right.
my mother's side. It doesn't matter if it's my father's older brother or younger brother or older sister or younger sister,
네.
or even if it's my father's brother's wife
네.
or if it's my father's sister.
네.
Anyways, I'm making it confusing here, but let's just look at the terms.
네. 고모, 고모는 아버지의 누나.
Okay.
Yeah. So father's older sister.
Yeah.
Or 여동생이에요.
Okay.
younger sister.
All right. So this word 고모 means my father's side of the family.
네,
It's either my father's older or younger sister.
right.
Okay.
그다음에 이모. 이모는 이제 mother side예요.
Okay.
어머니의 언니 or 여동생.
Okay. So the same rule applies, but in this case, for my mother's side of the family, we
네.
use the word imo.
네,
That's for my mother's older or younger sister.
네, 네,
Okay. It gets a little more complicated here.
네.
So when I'm talking about uncles,
음흠.
I can talk about different terms here. What's the first one?
네, 거기 크다 means to be big.
Right.
big인데 이제 이렇게 큰 하면 이제 you have n down here to modify a noun.
Right.
큰 아버지, 그러니까
Right.
big father.
My big father.
네,
Yeah.
아버지의 형이에요.
Okay.
네,
All right. So a 큰 아버지
네,
is not just my uncle,
no.
but specifically my father's older brother.
네,
Okay.
네. 그다음에 여기 작은 있어요.
Yeah.
그래서
So kind of,
작다, 이제 small.
okay.
네,
Yeah. So just like when we have 크다 becomes 큰,
네,
작다 becomes 작은.
네,
Right. So to talk about small father.
네.
So
or
작은
younger father.
or younger father. In that case, 작은 아버지 means
아버지의 동생,
okay.
but he's married.
A
That's
married.
why 아버지 is there.
Okay.
네.
So and in this case, 동생 specifically 남동생.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
맞죠. 아버지의 yes right 남동생이에요.
Yeah. All right. So we say kind of 작은 아버지 or small father or younger father, and that refers to an uncle
네,
who's younger than my father
네. But he's married.
but married.
When you were born, he was married.
Okay. I've
네.
always known him as a married man.
Right, right.
Okay. All right. Okay, we've got one
네.
more example down here.
여기는 이제 same. 아버지의 남동생이에요. But he was not married when you were born.
Okay.
그러면 삼촌. 아버지의 남동생. But not married when you
Okay.
were born.
So again, this word means uncle,
네,
but specifically used to talk about my father's younger brother
그렇죠.
who wasn't married when I was
Right.
born.
네, 삼촌.
So 삼촌.
네,
Now, when I look up the word uncle in the dictionary,
네.
I think this is the first entry that I see.
네.
삼촌.
네.
So this can be confusing.
Yeah. 그래서 when we learn the word uncle or aunt, it's very confusing.
Yeah.
네, we don't know who is that person.
But
Who's
really,
the part?
It's so, I mean, in
Who's
English, I think it's so simple because even if we don't know exactly who we're talking about,
네,
and I say, oh, my aunt, it could be any number of people,
right.
but it's still just one or two terms to refer to them, as
Wow.
opposed to,
네,
five different terms just to refer to one person, right? Okay. All right. And I also wanted to ask you about, so you said you can say 언니 in a restaurant.
오, 네, 네.
Just like I said earlier, maybe you can talk about older men as 할아버지, older women as 할머니. How about the terms 아가씨, or not 아가씨, sorry, 아주마 and 아저씨?
네, 그거는 아저씨, 아가씨. 이거는 이제 married woman, but not blood related.
Man, right?
Man.
Right.
It's a
Married man.
Married man.
Okay.
Sorry, married man. 아저씨 이렇게. 네.
Okay.
아가씨는 not married, unmarried girl, lady.
Okay.
이 아주머니 있어요.
Okay.
이건 married woman.
So married woman, kind of middle-aged.
네,
So 아주머니
네,
for middle-aged woman,
네.
who I assume is married, right? And 아저씨 for a married man
Married
or
man.
middle-aged man.
Right.
Okay. And 아가씨, I've seen this term translated as maiden.
네.
So I don't know if that's really
그러니까
appropriate, but younger woman.
younger woman이에요.
Okay.
Before you get married.
Kind of like in English, miss
네, 네.
and,
그런데
and Mrs.
요즘 이런 말 잘 안 써요.
Okay.
네, 근데 이거는 maybe children they can say 아저씨, 아주머니
Okay.
괜찮아요. 그런데 adult에는 잘 안 써요.
All right. So this is not too common a
Not
term
very
these
polite.
days? Not too polite. Okay.
Right. If you want to call someone 아주머니, 그러면 maybe 아주머님
Okay.
그러면 sounds polite.
Okay.
아주머님, like 선생님.
And what would be the equivalent for 아저씨?
거기는 없어요.
What if-
아저씨는
I can't say 아저씨님.
안 돼요. 그거는.
That doesn't work.
doesn't work.
Okay.
여기도 없어요. 아가씨님 없어요.
Okay. All right. So
그래서,
maybe there are better options.
네, 네.
How about if I
그러면-
just refer to a man as 삼촌 in a restaurant?
그건 좀 이상해요.
That's strange.
예,
Okay.
그건 안 되고
I've heard you can say emo in a restaurant. Is that strange as well?
그것도 you can do it. 근데 when you are young, like
When you're young.
teenagers or early 20s,
Okay.
then emo. high teens, 네, emo 괜찮아요.
Okay. So
근데 adult도 emo 해도 괜찮아요.
It's okay?
네, 네, emo.
Okay.
They know you are not related.
yeah.
Okay, they will
Right.
understand.
Okay.
네.
All right. Like I said, I don't think these are the easiest terms to learn.
아니에요. 네, 어려워요.
Yeah,
네.
they're a little difficult, but with some practice, you can figure it out.
네, 네. 그래서 우리 학생들 많이 연습해야 돼요.
Yeah, you need a lot of practice. Right?
네, 네.
Okay.
Especially these guys.
Yeah.
큰아버지, 작은아버지, 삼촌, 고모, 이모, 네.
Yeah.
이모, 고모. 네.
Okay. Well, I think we're going to continue to look at family
네.
in the next lesson.